Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Today, I wanted to go over a topic that I think is one of the most critical topics to deal with when you're raising a child on the autism spectrum. You will have a lot of stress. Some of that stress, there's a million reasons why you have stress. Some of it is, but not all of it, is your child's behaviors. Some of it may be caused from going into an IEP or coming out of an IEP meeting, dealing with their education. There may be financial issues. Raising an adult, you may have problems with Social Security. Raising a child, you may have problems getting funding for things that they need. You're probably sleepless if your child isn't sleeping. Our child didn't sleep until she was 5. And we made changes to help her sleep. So your lack of sleep, that's going to bring a lot of stress. So there's just an abundant amount of reasons why you're going to be stressed out. And so what I want to say that's really important is that a lot of parents raising someone on the spectrum put themselves last. And I don't mean to say that you need to constantly be putting yourself first. As a parent, you need to serve your family and serve them well. But if you always put yourself last, your family is going to suffer for it, especially your child. And it's like the old analogy of when they ask you to put on your oxygen mask on a plane, and if you're traveling with a little one, you want to put on your mask first before you put on your child's. So you need to take that approach to it. A couple of years ago, after COVID, a number of really terribly stressful problems happened within our family. And on top of the stress of COVID, there were some financial issues, some family issues, some other issues. On top of the stress of COVID, on top of the stress of my child not understanding why she couldn't go to school. She actually liked going to school at the time. On top of the whole lockdown madness and everybody up in arms about politics and COVID and everything else. And so in about 2023, I was attending an event with a friend, and we were talking about the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system. And I learned from looking at the symptom list that I had, hold on. Sorry about that I had a form of PTSD. And the problem with having so much stress that your physical system gets overwhelmed and short you out. Like it's literal burnout, and you can get shorted out. So that leads to problems sleeping. That could lead to problem with your health. You get overwhelmed. Sometimes you might actually experience like sensory issues, like sensory input overload. A lot of people talk about old age, ADHD. You suddenly have ADHD when you've never had it your whole life. All those things can be related to having too much stress and not being able to manage it well. So I'm going to give you some of my top best tips for managing stress. And I'm going to tell you that I personally think that avoiding your self-care 100% is a non-starter. If you do that, you're not going to be able to help your kid. You're not going to be able to prioritize their needs. It's just going to give you brain fog at best. It might even lead to serious health issues. So you need to find the things that manage your stress. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that manage my stress and manage them very well. Some of them you'll be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And some of them might surprise you. So I'm going to say, so one of the first in the moment things when you're short wiring, and maybe it's when your child is short wiring or something horrible has happened and you are in that panic mode of I do not know what to do. So right there in the moment, you need to do, we now call it, it's so fancy, we call it breath work, but you just need to do some deep breathing. I'm a Christian, so a lot of times I'll do my breathing with prayer. I used to teach my kids when they were little to breathe and go, help me God, on the exhale. And that helped me to teach my kids to breathe when they were little. Now that they're adults, they're like, whatever. But it's a good thing. You can do it. You can use, like I used it as a mantra, like to help me get out of the moment. And when you're in a crisis moment, you're going to stay in crisis mode unless you take a moment to step back, do a few deep breaths, say a little prayer for God to help you. That'll help you move on to take care of the crisis. Because a lot of times when you're raising an autistic child, even if you have a co-parent, partner, husband, wife, whatever, they might not be there at the moment. Or they might be there and they might be panicking. So a lot of times it's on you just to step in and bring down the situation, especially if you're in public. And so deep breathing is the way to do it. There's a really simple technique. You breathe in for 7, you hold it for 4, and you breathe out for 8. And you just keep repeating that. Hi, Rosa. Hi, Chris. You just keep repeating that. And like I said, I combine it with a prayer. Just go, help me God. It's easy to teach to your little ones too. So that's the number one thing. You especially need that in the moment. But in general, over your week, something that really, really helps me a lot is a good workout. I know nobody likes working out, but everybody likes the results of working out. And this result that you get from working out is not just being fit and healthy or getting slimmer or getting in shape. This result, working out, physical exercise, especially rigorous physical exercise, helps you to manage stress, helps you to de-stress, but it also helps you process when something really crappy happens. When my brother passed away, I found out on a phone call from my sister right before, with 2 minutes to go to a 1-hour boot camp. And I used that boot camp to process my grief, like in the initial, he was dying, so it wasn't a surprise. It was just, it helped me work through it. So I think that's something you need to do is think about physical workout. I personally like a hard, heavy physical workout. Definitely helps you process things like anger and stress and grief. More than because I think a slower workout, you're supposed to be focusing on your exercises, but your mind can wander, like if you're doing yoga. So definitely exercise helps you manage stress, right? It's always a pain to put it in your program, to put it in your day, but it really is going to help you, your brain feel a lot better. It's a release. Okay, now a thing that I like to use a lot for stress is I use different products, like essential oil products. So Pure Haven has comfort oil that helps me. I like to use, I like to diffuse a couple of things. One of the oils that I use a lot is lavender oil. Just straight up, simple, doesn't cost a lot. I use Young Living. Find a quality brand. I'm not saying you have to use Young Living. Find a good quality brand. I think that's a good quality brand. I have picked up brands off the shelf in Whole Foods, and then they've made me sick. So, especially with lavender, I don't love the smell of lavender, but it really does. It is really one of the scents that calms you down. Sometimes I'll just take a sniff. But the other thing you can do is diffuse it. Some people will put direct skin contact or put it in their mouth. I'm not a fan of that. I think diffusing is great if you have the patience to set it up. Again, I take a whiff every now and then. And another thing you can do is a bath to relax. I take a detox bath with Epsom salt. You can throw the lavender in the Epsom salt. You can throw the lavender in the Epsom salt and then put it in your bathtub. I know a lot of us don't have time for baths. And the other downside of a bath is that an Epsom salt bath is also a detox bath. So you might actually trigger symptoms if you haven't done a detox in a while. But that's a good one for me. Next one is simple, easy, and it's something I've been doing every single day since I've moved to Alabama. I wasn't doing it every day in Pennsylvania because the weather was, but get out in the sunlight. Get out as much as you can. Sunlight is really good for vitamin D. And when I say get out in sunlight, do not put sunblock on for 10 to 15. Just be out there for a couple of minutes without sunblock, because the sunblock is going to block the sunshine from getting into your pores. I'm also hearing now you shouldn't be wearing sunglasses. I don't wear sunglasses, but I do wear a baseball cap. So I can still see the sunlight, but I've got my permanent shade in front of me. So I would say wear a baseball cap. You don't want the sun to bother your eyes too much, but we need to really stop fearing the sun. The sun is a good thing, and it's a good part of grounding. Grounding is another great way to relax. So what is grounding? It's really easy. You get your, you interact with nature. So walking in sunlight is grounding. So is swimming in a lake, or going to the beach, walking barefoot in the sand, working barefoot in dirt. You just have to be careful when you're walking barefoot that you're walking, and you do really need to make the skin-to-skin contact with the earth. I don't know. God put it here for us to enjoy it, and that's one of the ways to enjoy nature is, I think is to be, walk in the sand. You got to be careful when you're walking in dirt, unless you definitely know there's no sharp objects or twigs or things that you can cut your feet on. What you can also do is you can also go to if you have an area where there's a park, where there's trees and grass and flowers, or if you go to a botanical garden. I found that since I've been here in Alabama, there's a lot of lilac around, and just at a certain time of day, like the whole neighborhood smells like lilac. And so it's great to take a walk because you're getting natural aromatherapy. I haven't had a huge problem with allergies since I've been down here too, which is really odd because I'm outside every day and it's hot every day. But yeah, take into account your allergies as well, but get out there, get out in nature. And so that brings me to the final thing is get off technology. Tech is great when you use it in moderation and it's helpful, but get off technology. And so that means turn off the news. If it's stressing you out or pissing you off, turn it off. Look up from your screens. Again, going outside is a great way to get yourself off your screen. You just go outside and enjoy everything. Turn off the TV, turn off the, just get away from tech, to walk away from your Wi-Fi if you can get to a place that doesn't have a lot of Wi-Fi. I know it's everywhere, but I think it's contributing to our stress. And so those are all things that are going to help you. Hi, Margaret. Thank you for coming. So I think those are all things that are going to help you. And like I said, if I had the one thing to buy, I would buy the lavender oil and then diffuse it. I don't love the smell of lavender, but just a little diffused. I diffuse it with other things usually. And if I take a whiff of it, all that really helps. And getting off the tech and getting outside, that always is such a great help. Running, praying, and if you're a Christian, if you're really stressed out, this is something that's worked for me. I have had days where I just felt the overwhelming and horrible, and I just put on a Christian song and just praised God. Because I think that, to me, is a way to just release the pain and open yourself to the fact that God has a good plan for you, and everything that's happening to you is in His hands. And if you follow Him, you're going to be okay. So that's Margaret says, "Hi, great advice." Well, thank you, Margaret. I think we all need to find the things that work for us. I could do a whole presentation on food too. I went to the doctor the other day, and he freaks out because my upper blood pressure was at 150/90, and I'm like, I'm never at 150. What are you talking about? I'm always down around 110, 120. But specifically, I've been drinking a lot of coffee lately, so I think maybe reduce. Think about things like that, like your caffeine intake, and if you're like a 3-4 cup of coffee a day person, it. Maybe reduce it. I have that Rise coffee, which is it's got caffeine in it, but it's got about half the amount of a regular cup. And to boot, we always buy the dark strong stuff, the Death Wish or Black Rifle. Those coffees are really high in caffeine content. So maybe think about, what are you eating? Am I eating things that are sugary or caffeine-y or something like that, where they're speeding you up? Those are things that, again, like that's a whole separate presentation. But I just think taking a few minutes, and it's also really good to take your time every day. You're going to have a lot less stress if you can. I'm really bad at writing things down. Yeah, I'm a writer. I'm bad at writing things down. But if you take a few minutes in the morning to think about, I have these 2 or 3 major goals for the day, whether they're work or personal or both. And then come at the end of the day, wind yourself down at the end of the day. There's a whole lot you can do to promote your sleep, but wind yourself down at the end of the day. A great way to de-stress is to make sure you are set up well for sleep. And so that means, like, I do like my reading at night. Try not to read things that are going to trigger you, like horror books, crime novels, a book that is going to give you information, like a nonfiction book that's going to upset you. You want to read things that are peaceful, joyful content, things like romance novels, comedy novels, silly light things. That's great to read at night. Like, don't read anything that's really going to wind you up. So, those are my tips on how to reduce stress. Again, you need to manage your stress. You can't manage your kid if you can't manage your stress, because you're just going to be setting yourself up for, like I did, like with PTSD, or ADHD, or overwhelm, or you're going to trigger sensory input overload. You're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to have, and then in addition to your child's challenges, you're going to have challenges, your own challenges that make it more difficult and then you have to manage the two of you all challenges. So you need to manage your challenges, but just start by right now reducing your stress as much as possible, taking time out of your day to take little things, breathing. Anybody can do breathing. You can do it for 5 minutes. Lavender oil, you can pick up a bottle, a quality brand. Going out in the sunlight, if it's a rainy or snowy day, you can't, but if it's a nice day, go out there, get some sun. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day, and remember to manage your stress today. Okay, thanks. Bye.